Hello and welcome to Podcrushed.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I have to be transparent. I've had so many technical difficulties today
Yeah.
that
What's
I
new?
am completely frazzled. Listen, orange cable.
That's true.
All right. Listen, one cord to unplug and I unplugged it. And I'm doing it without Wi-Fi. I'm doing it on a hotspot in my toddler's room. It's remarkable. Yeah. What's up, guys?
Well, I was just thinking how I really wish that the Podcrushers could be in our group chat.
I think they wish that too.
I actually wish Penn could also be in our group chat.
Yeah,
No, I'm
that'd
kidding.
be great if we could join.
I am, but I just sort of opt out. I opt out all the time.
We're muted.
When
Yeah.
Penn opts in, it's the best.
It's so
fun.
exciting. Yeah.
All of us are on our phones. Like, quick, reply. No, but some funny stuff happens in that group chat. Like the other day, Nava was just telling us that she almost ate her dog's dog food.
So Maeve is a sponsor of the show this season, and they have incredible dog food. They sent us free samples to make sure that we liked it before we endorsed. And one of the samples that they sent us were these like peanut butter sesame bars that look and smell like regular human breakfast bars. And I texted the group, like, they smell so good, I might try it. And Sophie was like, put down the bar, Nava, put down the dog food.
For reference, that's when I'm looking at the chat and I'm just like,
I'm out.
So you see it all.
Yeah.
I do see it. Yeah, I do see it. I just
How am I
choose not to
hosting with
respond.
these humans? Yeah. Okay, but I have a fun follow-up to that, which is that I went on a trip to Big Sur with my dad and the dogs and some cousins and packed the Maeve dog food, including the bars, and had given my dad some of the stash because he has a dog too. And anyway, we stopped dogs, whatever, this whole thing. And as I'm like feeding both dogs the peanut butter bar, which they absolutely love, they like devour, I'm telling my dad, like, it just smells so good. Like it might be peanut buttery. And my dad's like, yeah, it's pretty sweet. And I look at him and I'm like, it's pretty sweet, or you think it's pretty sweet? And he just looks at me and his eyes go wide open and he covers his mouth and he starts laughing. And I'm like, you ate one of the dog food bars? And he's like, it's
not
very
even
tasty.
an apocalypse.
No.
It's
So
not.
human grade, guys, human grade dog food. So Tommy tried it and stands by it. Good enough for humans.
Tommy
Oh my God.
is a ride or die.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. No, I've thought about it.
Yeah, I might do it, guys.
know,
It might be one of these where I update you on the flavor.
Yeah, please.
But I haven't yet. Yeah.
Well, if you want your life to be easier, I've always said don't have dogs. That's been my policy.
Oh God.
This isn't a lie.
I have to say that's true.
That is actually true. He has
No,
said
it is
that.
true. It is true. Sophie knows. Sophie knows what we're talking about.
Don't ask me what happened to my dog.
Tell us you got rid of your dog without telling us you got rid of your dog. Let your co-host do it for you. No, I right around the time that Maeve sent us the first shipment, one of my dogs got really sick, which is terrible. We really thought he was maybe close to death, and he has bounced back. I can't give all of the credit to Maeve. Obviously, that would be crass.
Some to Maeve, some
But
to
I have
God.
to say,
Is that sort of the...
yeah, right, sure.
Sure.
But I know the switch to raw. He's eating food more consistently than he ever has. He's a husky, and he's just super picky, like super picky. It's really frustrating, actually, getting him to try to eat kibble is nearly impossible.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know. It's unclear to us, as his owners for 5 to 6 years now, what it is that he likes, unless it's basically been bleeding recently. Like he just loves eating live animals. He's a husky. He can do that.
Yeah.
So he's been loving it.
That's cool. That's exciting to hear.
Big ups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big ups, Maeve. Thanks for sponsoring us this season.
We love you, Maeve.
Speaking of people we love,
Oh, we got to work on this transition. We got to work on that.
No, that was good. I thought that's great.
I dare say our guest loves me because we've known each other for a long time. The esteemed actor and director Brittany Snow. You might know Brittany Snow from her roles in films like X or Hairspray or Pitch Perfect. There's also Almost Family and American Dreams. That's a bit of a throwback, but she was amazing in that. We were together in a little film called John Tucker Must Die. Acting is not her only endeavor. Her directorial debut was at last year's South by Southwest with a film called Parachute.
just as an aside, if you haven't seen it, I really loved it. I'd recommend it.
Brittany is a delight. We caught her in a rare moment off. Let's just get right to it.
Brittany.
Welcome to Podcrushed. We're your hosts. I'm Penn.
I'm Nava.
And I'm Sophie.
And I think we could have been your middle school besties.
Penn, would you have let us braid your hair?
If my wife doesn't make me cut it.
Oh.
Oh, God.
No, but this is in middle school.
I was married in middle school, David.
Really excited to meet you. I used to watch Guiding Light with my sister, so I feel like I've known
Did you?
forever. Yeah. We would watch it when we came home from school, and I remember you. I remember you on Guiding Light. Yeah.
So,
Oh my
how
gosh.
How old were you on Guiding Light?
I started when I was 12, and then I was till I was 15.
Because I was on Young and the Restless when I was 14, I think, for like a year.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And it was like a recurring role. I worked enough that it was formative or whatever, but were you like a daily kind of thing, or were you popping in and out?
I was a daily type of thing.
Wow.
I was a main, I guess I was the kid character, but I was supposed to be the rebellious character, which was, looking at me, I look exactly the same. It was really funny, but like my antics were overdosing on cough syrup and causing tiny fires, things like that you
That's
do.
such a 90s style of rebellion for kids.
Yeah, I don't even remember why I overdosed on cough syrup, but everything is a little fuzzy around them because I was going to school at the same time as I was shooting the show in New York. So I didn't even live in New York. I lived in Florida, and I would fly to New York to do the soap opera, and then I would fly back and forth. It was so wild.
Did you like that at the time?
I didn't really have a choice since I was a child. And I think, my parents probably came at it from the viewpoint of we wanted to keep her normal and going to normal school, which seemingly is a good idea until it was not, because I would go to 2 or 3 days of school, and then I would fly to New York and do a day or two on Guiding Light, and then I would fly back to school.
Oh, gosh.
And I did that every day for three years. So
Years.
Brittany.
yeah, no summer vacations, no off time.
All right. All right. Yeah. So, okay.
Do you remember ever protesting that?
No, because I loved it so much, and I that was sort of the safe haven part of middle school for me, was the going to work. And I always had this sort of sensibility that I wanted to work more than I wanted to go to school. So I don't know where that came from, but I think it was innate, and I liked that a lot more than my childhood. So,
Yeah. Well, let's dig into where that came from. You haven't figured it out yet, but
Did you get bullied in school? Because Guiding Light, that would have just come out every day. Like there's not a long lag between when you film and when you release, right? So it would have been current while you were in school.
Yeah, it comes out the next day pretty much. So it was such a strange thing to film something and then to see your work right away. And as a kid, getting that sort of validation and reward center coupled in with going to school and knowing that there were other kids looking at your work in that way, or work. I don't even know what it was. Yeah. But it was a lot. And I guess we're diving right into that.
well, hold on. Before we get into because there is stuff about that that's tough. That's part of what we do on this show, and what I've done a lot. I've talked a lot about maybe the difficulties, but I think before that, let's who were you? You were a performer at such a young age, right? Mm-hmm. So I guess what we want to know is, who is the Brittany growing up who loves this performance, this craft, maybe this art form. And then, as you're getting into 12, this is the reason this age is so special, is because that is the first time you could conceivably see yourself and feel like, I think, as a quote unquote artist or performer, or, you have more agency, you're more conscious, you're more, all these things, So just give us a snapshot of maybe at 12, how you were seeing the world, what you were thinking, what you were doing.
Oh God, I feel like I'm about to go into therapy. Well, I'll preface with, I was always a really sensitive kid. I also had tendencies just out of the gate, being born, I was just a perfectionist through and through. I was really empathetic and emotional. I would cry all the time. I would not be able to go to school, elementary school, if I had a wrinkle in my sock. My hair had to be perfect. Everything had to be perfect. And I think a lot of people might see that as like a nurture versus nature thing. I kind of feel like it was sort of, I was born like that in a weird way. So I was already sort of an emotional kid that just really liked to cry. Sometimes I would, for fun, just stare at myself in the mirror and cry.
And cry.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't know why.
That's so funny.
I can cry very easily. It is a special skill. It's like rollerblading, accents, crying in the mirror. No, but I think it's because I'm just so, my sensitivity, and I'm so sensitive even now to food, to medication, to men, to any, like life. Anything kind of looks at me the wrong way and I'm like I just start crying. And I kind of see it as a superpower now, but as a kid, I sort of knew that was something I could do to get out of things or to navigate my way of life. And so then when I was 12, I was just really good at accessing those emotions. And I also had really, really strict parents when it came to achievement. And I love my parents, but they were very high achievement. And I mean, you know my mom.
I do, yeah.
A little bit, yeah. We'll get into that later. But, you know, as a kid actor, there's a lot of pressure on making sure that you get the part and you're the best. And I really had that sort of built in. So when I was 12, I have this really particular moment that I actually directed and wrote a short film about. It's called Milkshake. And it's my first sort of foray into directing and writing. I did it in 2015. And it's about the moment when I realized I wanted to be an actor. Because I was doing this scene where I'm on soap opera, on Guiding Light. It's my initial scene. It's my first scene that I've ever done. And I get to yell at my mom on the soap opera. And I remember being 12, and I remember it's the pressure. You know this from Young and the Restless. Like, you only do the scenes maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
So the adrenaline is going. I'm 12 years old, and somehow I realize I'm yelling at my mom in real life, even though I'm on set and I'm doing this sort of scene, and I lose myself, and I completely get into that sort of fuzzy feeling of dopamine and that high druggy feeling that I had never felt before. And I start crying, and obviously, because it's, you know, the only thing I know how to do. And then everyone in the studio starts applauding. And I get that dopamine hit of, oh, this is how I get achievement. This is how I get validation, is using my sensitivity and my emotion. I'm going to do this shit for the rest of my life.
Wow. The way you just described that is like a psychedelic state.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
Yeah. It was kind of, I mean, I tried to encapsulate that with the short. I don't think I did it right, but it's called Milkshake because my mom would really, and I, you know, I preface this with, she, like many other parents, did this where you do a good job, you get a reward. So you do a good job, you get a milkshake. If you don't do a good job on the audition, you don't get a milkshake. And so the milkshake was really sort of this symbol of my relationship with my mom and wanting that validation. And also my addiction to milkshakes now. I love it.
Yeah. There's so much there, Brittany. I feel like I don't know which direction to go, but since you just shared your memory of kind of a first high on set, do you remember your first low on set as a kid?
I remember when I was unable to get there on set in terms of getting myself into a state of panic. I remember asking the stage manager, I don't know if I should share this because this is really sad. But I remember asking the stage manager to tell me that I was doing it wrong.
Whoa.
And so I would get sad, and then I would be able to to use that. Yeah. So I don't know. I think I've also taken little bits of that into even now. I don't ask people to tell me I'm doing things wrong, but I think the awareness is still there of what to use.
You know, I can't help but I do remember in the scene in we were going to mention at some point in John Tucker Must Die, where I, as a character, it's always stuck out to me.
Oh God!
When my character, I don't remember what I'm saying, and I don't really remember. I don't remember what's happening, frankly.
I can't remember. There's a trend.
But I know that my character is saying to yours, he's basically like, he's kind of shaming you.
Yeah.
He's like saying, I thought you were different, something along those lines.
Oh yeah.
Because the whole arc of your character is that you're trying to, you know, what is she doing? She's trying to like out this guy, but then she sort of falls for him, and then she realizes maybe she's not better than, you know, it's like this humbling thing. And then I just remember in that scene, you got to a place of such vulnerability because I also, in order to, you know what, I'm remembering, in order to make you feel, we must have had some kind of understanding here, but I was trying to help you, you know, get there. And so I ad-libbed a little bit and said worse things than are in the script.
Oh
my God, I don't remember this at all. Wow. No.
So anyway,
maybe I blocked it out.
Yeah, and I mean, just a little. I mean, I'm not like, you know, I wouldn't have done anything like really out of pocket, but
right.
I'm just kind of, you know, there's an interesting, I don't know, degrees mirror there. I don't know. I
have really interesting memories of doing that movie because I always kind of felt like we were very similar to our characters. All of us were.
Everybody. And it's sort of true, yeah.
And so I did sort of feel like we were sort of the indie sensitive weirdos of that
bunch.
Of that bunch, yeah. And
do you remember that She's the Man was shooting there at the same time?
Oh wow.
I do.
Yeah. Wow. So we were all in the same hotel.
Wow. That's a fun
one. And I remember thinking that movie was going to be just so big and ours was going to be terrible, and then, you know, what do I know? So yeah.
Well, that one was big at the time.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It may not have
both are
like
iconic
really well.
films.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about John Tucker Must Die probably, but just bring it back a little bit to middle school and ask you what your first experiences were around crushes, because that's a unique situation. You were going to school a couple days a week, going to work a couple days a week. What were your feelings around like romance at that age?
I was not very comfortable in myself when I was in middle school, obviously, who is really, but I went through a pretty hard time during middle school because I was being bullied, and I'm very open about this, about a charity that I started a long time ago, and I was on Guiding Light, and I was also going through some sort of, I didn't know what being pretty was, because there was sort of this juxtaposition of what I saw on the soap opera of these women who were so beautiful, and then I would go back to middle school and that was a different type of beauty, and so I was all mixed up. And I remember that my first boyfriend ever was this baseball guy named Chris, and sorry Chris, but I wasn't not to out him, but it was I wasn't into it. So I just kind of did the going through the motions of what you're supposed to do in middle school. And my first year of high school, I only went to 1 year of high school, my freshman year. And then I moved out to LA and met Penn and a whole group of people that we sort of,
like, we don't go to school here. Welcome.
Yeah, we just sort of like live in these weird apartments.
We write our own rules and go on auditions sometimes.
And hang out at Starbucks. Like, what were we doing?
Oh, jeez, yeah.
But no, my middle school was not really filled with any. I didn't have time for that. I was busy working. So it wasn't until I was 16 that I had my first real love or relationship with a friend of Penn's, Kyle. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I'm just remembering all this.
Thank God you came on, Brittany, because
not remember that.
Yeah. You were there. You were like in the crowd. I remember.
Yeah.
I have very, very clear memories of seeing like you and Kyle and Dan and, all these guys are like, why are you bringing me up in this podcast? But it was my little community. I loved you guys. I was
That's right,
16. Yeah.
Do you feel like you generally have a really good memory? I feel like
No.
you and Penn are on different ends of the spectrum right now.
I think when it's tied to emotion, I can remember it,
Yeah.
which I think when I've researched this is, I think a lot of people have this, where if it's tied to something that made you feel something, obviously it's going to be stored differently. But when I don't have an emotion tied to it, I can't remember shit. So
Yeah.
I have the worst memory.
I remember when I was going through a bad breakup in my early 20s, I thought that I had this thing called HSAM, which is a I don't even remember what it's called now. Highly sensitive something memory.
Analog memory.
Oh yeah. Is that what it is? Are you making that
I
up?
don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, something like that. And I was like, I remember every single detail. I catalog it all. And then I moved on from that breakup and I cannot remember anything ever in my life. I'm like, oh no, it was just because I was really struggling.
You're like heightened.
Yeah. That resonates.
We have another question that we ask every guest, which is to share an embarrassing memory from sort of tween, anything that you think back at and it makes you just like cringe, or you're like, that was so awkward.
So there was an 8th grade dance, and at this point, I am not cool. I am getting picked on a lot. I don't really have, this sounds like such a sob story, and so many people have gone through this. So, I'm pulling out my tiny violin. But I didn't have any friends, and so there was this middle school dance, and I don't know if you guys remember this, or if you're in my, Penn, you're in my same age bracket, but do you remember when glow sticking was really cool? Mm-hmm. Like you would take
glow sticking. Like I remember
What would
glow
you do with the
sticks,
glow
but what's
sticks?
glow
Using
sticking?
them at parties.
you move them around.
Like a rave? Right.
But like
And
in
I guess-
8th grade.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
because I think it was happening at real raves, but then like younger kids were like,
Yeah.
we're kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were doing that, and I remember having the thought, oh, that's how I'm going to be cool. So I went and I got glow sticks, and I went home and I started learning how to do it. And so then I would do glow sticking at parties.
Yeah.
It's still a skill that I have. And I've gone on talk shows and done it. Like,
Wow.
I don't know why I continued to make sure that I was in this hole of shame.
Yeah.
Like just making sure that people knew that I was
bringing it
a
up.
dork. Stop bringing it up, Snow. So I think that is probably my most embarrassing thing because people still remember it when I go back home to Tampa. They're like, you got really into like glow sticking. Cool.
Did it make you cooler? Like, did people at the party want to like be near you?
Yeah. It
Oh,
doesn't sound like it.
absolutely not. No. A skill that is useful to no one.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't really remember much else. I mean, I wasn't really in school very often, which was strange. And when I was there, I was trying so hard, desperately to keep up with the girls and make myself fit in again. And then I would leave, and there was this one girl who, every time I leave, would turn all the other girls on me. So then I had to, when I got back in town, I found out all these secrets that weren't true that I had to undo, and
No, man.
it was very dramatic.
I started taking Symbiotica because I had noticed my sleep had taken a bit of a turn, which is not unexpected for a new parent, but it's less than ideal. But since taking their product, I've noticed that my energy levels have been better. And I'm not hitting that afternoon slump like I was before. Symbiotica is formulated with the highest quality ingredients out there. And Symbiotica is transparent about how and where they source their ingredients to ensure that you get the best products possible, which I love. Their formulas don't have any seed oils, preservatives, toxins, artificial additives, or natural flavors, which is pretty awesome because they are some of the tastiest supplements that I've tried. I have been taking their liposomal vitamin C, which promotes collagen production and boosts immunity. I've also been taking one called Golden Mind, which is really tasty. It's a vanilla chai flavor. You can take it with whatever drink you like to have in the morning or whenever, but I just knock it back. I just take it straight from the pouch, and it's tasty even like that. Feel more energized, alert, and balanced with high quality supplements that work. Head over to Symbiotica.com and use code PODCRUSHED for 20% off, plus free shipping on your subscription order.
If you're anything like me, my condolences, because it's a little bit hard up here. But what it does mean is that you care about where your food comes from, especially when it comes to quality cuts of meat. So that's why I want to talk a little bit about Butcher Box. They deliver 100% grass-fed beef, free-range organic chicken, pork-raised, crate-free, and wild-caught seafood right to your doorstep. So with Butcher Box, you're not getting just convenience, you're getting guaranteed quality. You can imagine the best cuts of meat chosen by experts, delivered frozen at peak freshness. Frozen at peak freshness. Ooh. Actually, I've been cooking with Butcher Box for last few weeks now with chicken, and I got to tell you, it's like night and day. The cuts are really flavorful and tender. The thighs and the chicken are just, so I've been adding them to every box I get. Plus, Butcher Box offers free shipping on all orders and exclusive member deals. They also include these great recipes with every box, perfectly curated to complement the cuts you've selected. Sign up for Butcher Box today by going to butcherbox.com/podcrushed and use code PODCRUSHED at checkout and enjoy your choice of bone-in chicken thighs, top sirloins, or salmon in every box for an entire year, plus get $20 off. Again, that's butcherbox.com/podcrushed and use code PODCRUSHED.
As we were talking about this, and also as I was watching Parachute, which is a beautiful film, by the way,
yeah.
very moving, I am thinking, like, when was the first moment I remember thinking about my body? Because you're not born thinking about your body. I think you are told things about your body, and then you start to become aware of it and you start to think about it. And I was thinking, this is maybe not the first memory, but one of the early memories is someone telling me, when you laugh, that's like you're naturally tensing your abs. And so if you think about it as you laugh, eventually you'll get abs. Your stomach, you'll lose stomach fat. And it's like such a bizarre, I don't think that's true. Anyway, but I remember then, now all of a sudden this thing that should be like carefree, laughing, the most like at ease you can be, is now an opportunity for me to think about my body and changing my body.
Wasn't that your sister?
Yeah.
She was trying not to out her. But I was like, you've already told the story on the podcast, and it's Syria.
Oh, wow. Okay, sorry, Syria. Sorry to my sister. Well,
Yeah.
I remember a lot of early memories about just like becoming aware of my body. And I'm wondering if you feel comfortable sharing what were some of your what was maybe one of the earliest memories where you became aware?
It was definitely on Guiding Light. I remember the distinction because I remember the year that I didn't care when I was 12. And then I was hitting puberty, and I think that I gained weight as you do, and I just remembered not feeling in control of what was happening to me. And that was the first marking of, why do I feel like I need to contain this and make it, and I think it's also tied to being, if you want to get psychological, I guess, I definitely had an understanding that being a talented little cute actress was working for me, and I wanted to stay very small in terms of being like a cute little girl. And that's something that I've had to really undo in therapy too, is that you're older. I'm 38 years old. Like, this sort of idea that being small and being a little girl has to change. You can't use that anymore. But I think I was getting such a reward system of being like, oh, she's so cute. And so I think that when I hit 13, I remember it wasn't even that I wanted to be skinny. I just wanted to be small. And so I started to realize that I could do things to my body to keep it that way.
Yeah.
And I think that was the beginning of trying to control a lot of things. I was completely out of control in terms of my life, and I was teaching myself math and science when I was on a soap opera set, and it made me feel like I had a best friend to also count all of my calories and go to the gym for 2 hours, and I felt like this is my new best friend, and I felt not as alone when I was doing that.
Wow.
When you say this is a little bit of a therapy style question, so forgive me. And if you don't, it's like whatever. When you say this is my new best friend, who is that?
It was this sort of feeling that whatever I was doing, it could occupy that part of my mind that felt alone. So when I felt alone, sitting there in New York, about to go on set, teaching myself math, and I just felt like, who are my friends? What am I doing? I'm 12, 13 years old. This obsession that I can do to make myself leave my body and leave the space I'm in is comforting. And that was really addictive to me.
Brittany, did you have friends?
I did a little bit. I had one best friend who moved away. She's still my best friend to this day. She was my maid of honor at my wedding. And we were friends our whole lives. But she moved away I was from Tampa. She moved away to Orlando. And I couldn't see her. And, there's no cell phones at this point. So, so old. But I just remember having to go to school and trying to make friends again, and then going to Guiding Light and losing them. And sort of that sort of like losing and getting and losing and getting was sort of tied to the dieting as well. It was all sort of interesting how that winning and losing was very much that duality was existing at the same time.
I do think that the first moments of Parachute, you have your protagonist, a young woman, scrolling on Instagram, but from what I recall, the first shot is like just her eyes. It's just like a very, very close shot of her eyes, and with an expression that really captures this. And I have to say, we live in a media saturated age where there are a lot of stories about that contain this dimension, I think, but I've not seen anybody capture it like this deftly, honestly. That anxiety, which is like a profound injustice in a way, like all just bearing down on this one girl's like head and shoulders. So just want to commend you for that you're taking all this awareness and channeling it into what you're making.
Thank you. That's really nice. And I think that, I have 15 years of recovery from what the movie is about. But what I think is even more interesting now is that thankfully I didn't have to deal with the Instagram comparison obsession world. But I really wanted to build that into this movie because I think it's all such a indication of how people with addictive personalities or people who have a disease in this way are so tied to the obsession. Totally, and sometimes that is the thing that's making you feel less alone. And so the close-up shot of her eye and like looking into this world is, I think, topically maybe about comparing herself to women, but really underneath it all, she feels alone. She's outside of this rehab center for the first time where she's alone. And the first time that she's not with a crowd of people, and she's not with her mom, she's not with anybody. And the only way to feel less alone is to obsess and to look and to compare and to make sure that that's, and I think that so many people are doing that even now, right? In terms of social media, it's like you feel alone, you feel uneasy, go on Instagram, go on TikTok, obsess about something. And I think I've tried to actively separate myself from that, yet also show it in a way of how it's very human and normal.
Since we're on the topic of Parachute, maybe you can explain a little bit for listeners who haven't seen it, sort of what the theme is, what inspired you to make it, and just maybe summarize it a little bit for people who aren't familiar with it.
Right. So Parachute is about a girl who gets released from rehab for codependency, eating disorder, and depression and love addiction. And she meets a guy named Ethan on her first night out, and he has just been released from jail. And they are not allowed to be together because the first year of recovery, you're not supposed to be in a relationship, yet they form this codependent relationship where they really see each other and love each other and help each other. But it becomes sort of codependent in this way that they realize is toxic. And it's sort of a love story told in a way where I wanted to tell a story about altruistic type of love and what you do for someone who can't love themselves.
It's beautiful, Brittany.
It's also really well summarized. I'm interested in hearing, actually backing up a bit, like what drew you towards directing, you know, because did you always feel it? You know, like when we were teens, like was it something that was on the horizon for you clearly, or when did it emerge?
It wasn't a part of the plan, no. But I think that I started to realize in my early 20s that I was seeing things a lot more from the collaboration and the building blocks and the puzzle pieces of it all, and I really liked that. I really liked feeling, and maybe this is my control thing, but I really liked getting that sort of sense of every little thing comes together in a really beautiful way when you put together people who are very talented at what they do, and sort of that collaboration was really exciting to me. But I never thought I could do it, and I never thought I would be good at it. So when I wrote this, I kind of set out for someone else to direct it, and then COVID happened, and I thought to myself, girl, you're too much of a control freak to let anyone else tell your story. What are you nuts? Yeah. So I put myself through like a mini film school in a way. And during COVID, read a bunch of books and watched Fellini and, you know, all the movies that I probably should have watched when I was younger. And
still never seen Fellini.
Yeah, shut up. No, you haven't.
No, I haven't. No, I definitely haven't.
Well, I'll give you a list.
It shows.
But I did all the boring, you know, good stuff, and also did not lame, but I did even like master classes. You know, I just tried to do it all to the point where I felt like if I got there on set and someone asked me a question, I would have some sort of wherefore of knowing. And then once I started doing it, I just realized, oh, maybe you were supposed to do this. Maybe you're supposed to do this, because I felt like I had a hand in, and I knew what I was doing in a way.
Finding a good doctor is stressful, right? Specialists, dentists, even a good GP can be hard to pin down. And then there's the whole song and dance of finding someone who takes your insurance. That is why ZocDoc is here to make things a million times easier on all of us. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare highly rated in-network doctors near you and instantly book appointments with them online. It's just this really intuitive, smart platform that I think we should have all started using years ago. I love the patient reviews in particular. I honestly could spend hours scrolling through them. It makes it so much easier for me to book someone knowing they were exactly what I'm looking for. Don't let the hassle of finding a doctor keep you from getting the care you need. On ZocDoc, you can filter specially for those who take your insurance, are located near you, and can treat whatever condition you're looking to manage. It's like having a personal health concierge in your pocket. We use ZocDoc all the time, and we know you will love it too. Go to ZocDoc.com/Podcrushed and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then find and book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/Podcrushed, ZocDoc.com/Podcrushed.
Let's go back to John Tucker Must Die. I have a hot question for both of you. Jesse Metcalf has very recently, as of like yesterday, talked about a script that's in development. He's read it. He loves it for a sequel. And then I read an article on E! Online that said that all of the original cast members are meant to be involved. So I wanted to ask you guys, will you be part of a John Tucker?
Does that include us?
It said all the Brittany. OG cast. And it says Penn Badgley, Brittany Snow, Sophia Bush, Jesse Metcalf. It's on E! Entertainment News. True or false? Are you guys potentially part of a sequel for John Tucker Must Die if it gets greenlit? Are you allowed to say?
I don't know if you've had a call, but I've gotten no call.
Yeah, I've had no call. No, I mean it's maybe possible in like the superposition quantum physics, like everything is potentially within the realm of like maybe this apple will fall up. I actually can't say with certainty.
Interesting.
But yeah, I don't know that I mean, look, I've got the smallest role in the movie. I don't know that I would belong in it anyway. But I mean, Brittany.
I'm not doing it if you're not doing it.
You guys heard it here first.
You heard it first. No.
Yeah, I mean, I never have I even thought of that as a potential thing, but I guess if there was a script, I would read it.
There is a script, and apparently it's funny, according to Jesse Metcalf.
Really?
Yeah. I'm going to send you this article.
I have been talking to Ariel about this for years because she was trying to get it off the ground, but I didn't know what happened, and it kind of just, I was like, go forth, go forth with that. But so that was the last I had heard of it, was that she was trying to make it happen, and so I guess she did. Question mark.
If
so
this
I will.
report is true.
It's to be trusted.
So I will. Yeah, I will read whatever people. They've worked really hard. So.
Yeah. What are your first memories of each other on set?
On set? Well, yeah, we did know each other.
Because you were dating his best friend, or you were dating his friend? Is that how you knew each
Not
other?
best friend, no. I mean,
not a best friend.
Yeah, it was like we were in the same
circles.
Yeah, there was like concentric circles. We were not squarely in the same group, but we belonged to a lot of the same groups. You know what I mean? So we were very much aware of each other. And then years later, our mothers would band together for a little bit.
Tell us about that.
They started a company, like a manager company, a management company for kids, for whatever.
Whatever.
Oh, God bless. I think both of them had a good eye for talent and for the young actors. And I don't really know what happened there, but I do remember texting you and being like, our moms are in business together?
Yeah, and I was like, I certainly tried to be supportive while never encouraging, because managing children to me is, to my mom's credit, and I don't know what your mom ever said about it, but I know that my mom actually sometimes encouraged children and their families to stop doing it and go home. Because it's like, look, the numbers are not in anyone's favor. And there's like, it's not so much like, oh, you're not cut out for this, but I think there's a certain thing, like chances are you shouldn't be devoting your life at 12, 13, 14 years old to this. You shouldn't be potentially separating parents and other siblings. You should try to stay intact and like not just go live this dream in Hollywood that is more than likely, far more than likely, going to fail. At the same time, you don't want to dissuade anybody from pursuing this, like, I don't know, this conviction, the passion they might have for a genuine art form. But I think my mom did what she could to be pragmatic. This is what I hear.
I think that's probably the better way of going about it, to be honest. Because also I think that it gets really confusing for the kid of are they doing it for them? Are they doing it for the
Of course, yeah, I know. It's really. Let's get back to John Tucker Must Die.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any sort of memorable sort of memories on set working together? You said, Brittany, that you felt like you and Penn were kind of like the indie weird kids. Would love to hear more about that. Yeah.
Well, Brittany was working all the time, and I was like just in a hotel room, like hanging out with She's the Man cast.
Really?
Yeah, and then like going out a few nights with Jesse and just feeling like, oh my God, I'm such a child. And all of these people are partying so hard.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the cast members, but I mean going out to clubs at 17 years old in Vancouver.
Did you go out that one night with us when we went out to a club? Were you there?
I don't know.
There was one night.
I know that
you
I
would
went
remember.
to. Yeah, no, then I don't think I was.
I was drinking Bellinis. It was.
Yeah,
it was
I
not
remember
exactly
that.
Scotch.
I remember. Yeah, I remember the girls all drinking Bellinis and me thinking that seems so cultured.
Okay.
There's a really dumb story I've told in this podcast, but just about the first time I ever had edamame was we were all out at this like fusion chain Japanese place.
Was I
there?
I
didn't know that. I'm pretty sure. Actually, you know what? I'm not sure. I think you were. I'm almost positive you were. But everybody had already eaten all of it, and I didn't realize. And so I was trying to get edamame beans out of the eaten
I think
shells.
about that every time I have edamame in front of me, Penn. I think about it every time.
I'm sorry. And I just remember like being really embarrassed and like looking around the table and seeing if anybody noticed, and I don't think anybody did.
Yeah.
Sweet Penn.
Very sweet. Yeah.
Do you remember? Did you ever meet Nellie? when Nelly was there.
What do you mean, Nelly? Like,
Yeah.
the Air Force Ones. And Nelly? He must have been visiting Ashanti.
He was visiting Ashanti, and we went out to dinner. And I just remember at this point, Nelly and Ashanti are the king and queen.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I remember being so nervous that I was like shaking because Nelly was sitting there.
Yeah, that's crazy. No, I definitely.
He was so nice and so genuine and loved her, and they were just the cutest thing. And I just remember thinking, what is my life right now?
Yeah.
So random. Yeah.
You were on Gossip Girl briefly. Young Lily, right?
Shaking your head. Why?
I didn't write the question. I didn't know this is their.
Well, to be honest, I wasn't supposed to be. I think it was going to be built into the show, but it was also a pilot for
That's what
it
I was
being a
remembering.
spinoff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. With Shiloh and who else was in it? It was actually really fun, but it was so specific of a pilot. It was great. Got to meet No Doubt. That was cool. But I do remember thinking we're in Gossip Girl, but we're also not. So I was so close. Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask, was if you had any memories of the main cast, because it was such a it show. But then, Penn mentioned that it was really for a pilot, so you guys didn't actually interact.
Was it in? Wait, Brittany, was it in? Because forgive me with the whole Gossip Girl thing. They're full people that I've met and should remember. I'm like, yeah, that was season 5. I don't remember.
I can't imagine.
Was it a part of the show or was it only a pilot?
It was both.
It was a part of the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they did have like a flashback episode?
Mm-hmm. Is it?
Okay. I remembered the pilot. I remembered the whole that thing, Josh and Stephanie talking about it. And okay. But it was definitely in our show too.
Right. And I remember, you guys were the pinnacle of people that were really doing it. And I remember coming to visit Blake, maybe. I was visiting someone on set, and you guys had these trailers, and you were filming in New York City. And I just remember being like, oh, I just want to be on Gossip Girl.
It's funny that you remember, because our trailers were not particularly, they were just like the same trailers, everybody always has.
But you guys were filming in New York City.
Yes,
and
we were. They were parked on Fifth Ave, maybe.
Yes, and it was in this grand ballroom. And I just remember feeling like, wow, they're really doing it. They're really, So when I got the call to do the spinoff, I thought that was very, very cool. Yeah. So I was really excited.
When you were out partying with Nelly, that's what I was thinking about you.
I was really
I cannot believe she's out there doing it. And with Nelly.
Nelly would never remember me. If someone paid him $1 million, he would not remember me. So it's not like I made a lasting impact or anything.
I was just gonna say you have been part of many iconic projects. Another one, Pitch Perfect.
Let's go there.
Yeah. What was it like? What was the process like getting cast, starting filming? Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I've been really lucky that I think everybody wants to see me in a girl power movie. If I'm not in a girl power movie, then I'm not working.
That's not true.
No. It's really nice because it does make it makes it seem perhaps that I am one of a collective, united girl empowerment thing. I with Pitch Perfect, I was really scared because I don't like singing, and I've been really vocal about that. And so my audition for Pitch Perfect was awful. I was so nervous, and I think they gave it to me anyway, just as a pity sort of thing, and because they had seen Hairspray. I was the first person who met on it, and I was the last person cast.
Wow.
They got everyone together, and then they were, I think, like, we'll throw Snow in there. I think that it was really exciting to get that because I read the script from Kay Cannon, and I remember thinking, this is the funniest script I've read in so long in terms of it being intelligent humor, and it was a world that I'd never seen before. And so I was begging to be in it. And so I was very, very grateful that they finally put me in the mix. And it was so much fun. I still have some of those best friends today.
You guys had to go to boot camp, right? Is that true?
Every movie we did about a month of, they call it boot camp. It's theater boot camp. It's not exactly digging holes out in the parking lot.
Yeah.
But it's
Well, we didn't think that.
you know, I didn't think you did. But it's, you know, vocal training and dance training, and then there's
Sounds fun.
rehearsals, and it was really fun. And it's sort of like this summer camp where you got to live with everybody and go to camp during the day, and sealed the camaraderie that we still have today.
I was going to ask, do you feel like that affected having like deeper friendships with cast members than in other movies, or kind of comparable?
I think so. We were together for so long, and I think when you're at that pivotal age of in your early 20s and you're going through breakups and heartaches and having to go to work and dancing through your tears and then going out and drinking because you don't get hangovers yet. I mean, it really was this sort of perfect storm of really solidifying a lot of us being best friends.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of things. You have a premiere tonight. I want to be respectful of your time, but Red, White, and Blue short film. I mean, that film is stunning in like the truest sense of the word. I watched it and I was just like weepy. It's hard to talk about the film because there's a twist that I don't want to spoil for people. But I did want to ask you about that process, about that film, and maybe who you hope that it reaches.
Sure. So it's a short film called Red, White, and Blue, and it's about a woman who has to go through an abortion scenario. And you go into the film thinking something because of your preconceived notions of however you view this topic, and it's a very polarizing one. But I think by the end of the movie, you realize that it's also a human story, and it's a story about motherhood, and it's a story about what you do for people who are in need in terms of basic human rights. And I think that sort of challenges a lot of people's perspective on the topic, because we're all human and we all deserve our autonomy. And I think that it's challenging a lot of people's perspective. That's so vague because I don't want to give away the twist, which I think is very important. Yeah. I think it's been really powerful that some people have reached out to me saying that they've gone into it wanting to hate it or challenge it or write to me saying, I can't believe you did this. What do you stand for? And then that actually, after watching the film, they changed their comment on it and said that they're now thinking about it in a different way. And I think, you know, to sound really cheesy, that's why you do art in this way, I guess, is to have people change their opinions or at least think about it from a different viewpoint. And I think that as a woman, I just hope that all women see this, because I would hope that no one has to be in this scenario and have to go through these sorts of things. And I'm sure that they do. We took this from a real life story. It's based on a true story, obviously. And it just made me so emotional to even think that this was something that I could encapsulate and become when really there's women who have to go through this.
Right. Brittany, what's next for you? Are you thinking more directing? Sort of walk us through.
Well, I'm on a TV show right now called The Hunting Wives that is going to be on Stars, and it's been really fun. It's another girl power, but in a different way. It's about these women in Texas who are sort of mixed up in the murder, and I get pinned for it because I'm a Bostonian who comes in and ruffles some feathers, and then I have to undo the murder in a way. And so that's been really fun. And then I did write something during the last few years that I want to direct that is completely opposite of Parachute. So I'm thinking about doing that. And I have a movie coming out in July called The Good Half, which I'm really proud of, and I'll be promoting that soon.
A lot of stuff. So exciting, Brittany. So much. It's amazing.
You know, I'm just trying to and watching you season 5.
No, come on, yeah.
It's my favorite. It's my
look at her
favorite
notes
show.
for that.
Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding.
It's your favorite show?
You're so good on it. It's great. It's crazy. the fine line of keeping it soapy and fun and interesting, but how dialed in and grounded you are is so hard, and you're so good at it. I've been wanting to text you, and I should have, to be like, I can't believe you can do this. I can't believe it's happening at the same time in this way. It's great.
all happening at the same time. Yeah. Well, you know how I do it? I just keep my mouth shut and let the voiceover do all the work.
This is so random.
It's hard to do.
Yesterday, my sister and I had this really heated conversation about you, the actor, and the show You, because I was telling her how I was at Equinox and I saw this guy who plays a villain on a TV show, and I didn't recognize him as a villain, but I knew he was too good looking to be a normal person. So I was like, that guy's famous. And I have like a really bad feeling about him. Like, why do I hate this guy?
Wow.
And I was like, oh, he must be like a reality TV douchebag. Anyway, it like took me a moment to process that. I was like, oh no, he's the villain on the show. And then, so I was telling my sister that, and she's like, do you think Penn gets that? And I was like, no, everybody who meets Penn's like in love with him. Like, they never like, that's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And then we just got into this really intense argument about why. And I don't know why, but for like 10 minutes, we were like, no, it's because of this. No, it's because of that.
There are some people,
yeah.
It is a very dramatic minority, small group, but there are some people who are like, they're like, oh my God, I'm so, oh. And then they just kind of like, they're just sort of like grimace. And then like, no. And I'm like, you are having the proper response.
You do it so well where you're actually rooting for you the whole time. And it's really, it's hard. It's complicated.
Yeah.
For many people.
It is complicated. Yeah. Well, thank you. That's really nice to hear. Thank you. Well, we do have a last question.
Okay.
It's just a hard left turn back to at the beginning of our therapy session. If you could go back to 12-year-old Brittany, what would you say or do?
The emotional answer is to, I would say, enjoy it. Enjoy everything. Don't be so hard on yourself. I look back at so much of my childhood and I was so focused on being this or achieving this or getting to the next step. I didn't sit in whatever I was doing. I didn't enjoy anything. And so I would want to enjoy life a lot more, and the fact I didn't have any bills to pay, at 12.
Yeah, for real.
But, and also I would say I'm so proud of you. I would say I'm so proud of you. She's handling so much.
That's
she did so
nice.
much.
You know,
Yeah.
I think you're correct me if I'm wrong, co-hosts, but I think she's the first person to say that.
Yeah,
I think
you
so,
are.
yeah.
You are.
That's
It's
very
really
nice.
Yeah.
That's very, very nice.
I am proud of her and I'm proud of me. And that's hard for me to do because obviously we've learned through this podcast that I'm very hard on myself. But I think that the awareness of knowing that everything is going to be okay is really important. And we're all doing the best we can.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, can you just give us a little cry? Just a little bit?
I've honestly been on the verge of tears. You've
been holding it.
You can go there. Oh, so sweet.
But it's a natural state for me. It's
Yeah.
my
Yeah,
natural
right.
resting
I really
place.
feel you on that. I really feel you.
Look, I'm like actually almost crying. It's
Yeah. I feel like you really
It's
get
okay.
along with my wife. That's sort of
Sweet.
yeah.
It's really nice to see you, Brittany.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you guys
Lovely
too.
to
And
meet
thanks
So
for
nice to
having
meet
me.
you. Yeah, thank you for making time.
Yeah.
Of course. No, this was fun. I've been wanting to be on the show for so long. So I'll bother you guys again soon.
You can keep up with Brittany Snow online at Brittany Snow. We are so excited that you can now listen to Podcrushed ad-free on Amazon Music. In fact, you can listen to any episode of Podcrushed ad-free right now on Amazon Music with an Amazon Prime membership.
We don't have long enough to really address that, but I feel like,
Or the expertise.
or the well, who needs that?
Yeah.